Hi, this is Jeff Driskill. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Fourth and Long. Hey, today we're going to talk to Hillory Baird, and she is co-owner of Baird Group Realty. She is going to share with us one of the best messages that I've heard a leader openly discuss. Be comfortable being uncomfortable. It's music to my heart because I really believe that we have to be able to go outside of our comfort zone in order to grow. In fact, she encourages her team to be uncomfortable, to do things differently. That way they can figure out what really works and they can develop their skills. And she also shared with us how she really believed that the tough things that she's had to go through in her life and her career has helped her to develop and hone her skills as a leader. Now, I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I enjoyed putting it together for you. And I hope you join us for future episodes of Fourth and Long.
Just tell us a little bit about Hillory Baird.
Well, Hillory Baird was born in Kansas City, Missouri, and with my dad being a football coach, moved about every 4 years. So I spent early years in Maryville, elementary years in Clinton, Missouri, which is where I met my husband in elementary school. I always tried to beat him in a race, wasn't able to, made me really mad. Then I moved to St. Joe, where my dad had his first college coaching job at Missouri Western. And then after 4 years there, we moved on to Nebraska. So my high school years were in Nebraska. My college years were at University of Nebraska. I started in interior design, really enjoyed it. But as I went through those first couple of years of classes, I realized that I was not wanting to make a career out of it like I thought that I would want. And so I switched to elementary education. My family's been a long history of teachers and coaches, and I thought I could be creative in a classroom. And I do love kids and did love the idea of helping in that way. So spent my first 5 years after Bill and I got married as a teacher, and then thankfully, I had a husband that worked very hard to keep me at home when we started having children, and had our daughter Bailey, our son Grant, got them into school, and Bill had started real estate. So as I was there as an at-home mother taking care of the family, I listened to everything he was talking about, and it just really clicked. I felt that my interior design background and then being a teacher, that I could really help clients with real estate. So that's how I got started with real estate. Was my husband started his company. He got busy enough with agents coming on that I was able to then take over and show homes for him and become the real estate agent that he was not able to do anymore.
Okay. And so when you became the real estate agent, did you do all kinds of real estate, or did you focus in on a certain area of real estate?
Residential, helping sellers and buyers. So that was where I started and where I still am. My husband has branched into commercial real estate, but the residential side specialist is what I've stayed with, and I do love both sides. I know there are some agents that will become a buyer agent specialist or listing agent, and I think the two go hand in hand if you've done real estate and are experienced, and in my opinion, it can really help you on both sides of the coin when you understand what you're doing as a listing agent and understand what you're doing as a buyer agent. So helping both sides of the equation is what I do.
Okay. All right. So tell us then a little bit about the business, Baird Group Real Estate, and you and Bill are partners, co-owners in the business, and tell us a little bit about that.
I'll go back to when Bill started real estate in 1997, maybe 1998. He started with J.C. Nichols before J.C. Nichols and J.D. Reese made the big common connection into Reese Nichols, what we have today. And as he started with his real estate career, he could see that the internet was coming fast, furious, changing everything. And he enjoyed his time at J.C. Nichols over on 291, really liked his broker, but he wanted to be able to embrace technology differently. So he broke away after, I believe, 3 years and started what was Infinity Realty. And Infinity Realty was the start to his own brokerage. And he grew that company really big. It was a very interesting and excellent experience. And that was before I got into doing real estate as he started Infinity Realty. But unfortunately, the downturn to the market really took a toll on us, and a lot of agencies and other agencies were closing offices and pushing people into one common office, and we only had one office. So we merged with Platinum Realty for a little bit, and then after his non-compete was up, that's when we went back to our name with Baird Realty Group, and have continued to do so ever since. I think it's something that has always made us feel comfortable to have our brokerage and know how we want to conduct business and do things and take care of people.
So let's talk about that a little bit. You mentioned that the first experience prior to the market issues that came along that we all experienced back in the 2008, 2009 era, was an excellent high quality. So talk to us a little bit why you felt that was an excellent high quality experience.
I believe that as you are doing business, doing life, growing as a person, if everything goes right, there's really nowhere to go and not much to learn from. So going through some tough experiences, things that are very difficult to navigate through, definitely helps you in honing your vision as to how you want to do business. Helps you as an individual of grading things out. And so I will say that as I started real estate in 2005, and then we very quickly hit those years that were tough, I thought, who wants to do this? But thankfully, we both love what we do, and we did stick through it. And it, I feel, has made us stronger for getting through those tough times, but it's not for the faint of heart.
And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But so that has brought us now forward to Baird Group Real Estate. What was it about that experience that defined how the two of you wanted the current business to look like, be run, and size, all of that?
I believe the most important thing or one of the most important takeaways from the tough years where the economy changed and then things got so tight and real estate was difficult, especially for the sellers, just can barely get a home sold. We learned that we always wanted to stick with our principles of treating people honestly, taking care of them, not having them become a number. And same with agents. His previous company had grown to many, many agents. And so now that we have come through that time and are in this business model, we've just kept it smaller. So we aren't looking for crazy numbers with agents and things. We are very much appreciative when people find us and share our same philosophies. And so we have a few agents that are with us, but it's not our intent to grow a company to a huge size again.
Okay. So size is not what you're going for, but what's the unique element of the agency that you have today?
Quality of people, quality of caring for clients. I would say those are two of the biggest things that stick out in my mind from all of the years that we've done real estate. And from the very beginning, a very important part to our business is just knowing that people matter and relationships matter.
Okay. So it's about the relationship that you're building with the clients. It's the relationship that you're building with the buyers and the sellers that has helped you stand out and get to where you're at today. So with Bill being in the real estate and then bringing you into it, what was it that you saw from him and in comparison to the other folks that were around him? And he was, working maybe, I don't want to say against, but with at different times in the deals. What was it that made you say, this is what I really like doing?
As I watched him work with clients, and when I say watch, it could be that he would be in the home office doing his phone calls, talking with people. Sometimes we would be in the car together with our young kiddos, and I would hear him talking with clients and with the negotiations to helping them troubleshoot. Any of the conversations that he had, maybe I was eavesdropping. I was just a person in the car or a person in the house that was always listening to him. And I really felt that real estate is a profession that is very personal, very much needed for agents to be able to help people through something this important. It's a very large financial purchase or sale, and you want it to go smoothly. So I did watch my husband work tirelessly at making sure things were done right and that he was able to help people successfully close deals. And so I found that very interesting. And also, just with my interior design background, I immediately was picking up on things that I heard where a client would describe what they were looking for or what they wanted. And that really got my wheels turning. So those are things that I think are important to understand about real estate. And as I'm finishing this comment, just immediately knowing that there's different hats to wear. And I felt like all those hats looked like a good challenge.
So they look like a good challenge. So you've gone from just being a realtor to now being a broker and having agents that work with you in the agency. So what was it, or how did you make that first transition, or did it just happen and suddenly you realized that you were in a leadership role with the company?
That's a very interesting question. I've been able to talk with you through the years, and my natural tendency is to be the worker bee. It still is very natural for me to be the worker bee. And when I first started real estate, obviously trying to gain my own experience, I didn't foresee being a broker or having agents that I'm helping or leading. And you are somebody that helped me to do that. I will say that honestly, that you and the classes that I was able to take with you helped me have that bigger picture. If I have experience, I have knowledge, I feel very confident and happy with what I'm doing, helping other people understand this profession and being able to thrive in it, finally came to light for me. And so I would say, just after feeling confident in my own experience and taking some of your classes, that's what was a turning point for me.
Well, it really wasn't a shameless plug on my part trying to get you to say that, but I appreciate.
I speak what's in my head.
I appreciate that. Who do you feel have been some of the influencers for you as you think about your journey from being a classroom teacher, which we both know is far and away a leadership position, even though you're doing it with, 10-year-olds or 8-year-olds or, 12-year-olds at the elementary level. But you're definitely in a leadership role from that perspective. But who do you feel has been that influencer or influencers, multiples, have helped you realize and grow in your leadership roles?
Thinking back through the years, I would say as I made my way through early childhood, high school, and into college, both of my parents were very, very supportive of myself and my sisters to go do whatever it is we wanted to do. And I always felt comfortable that they were going to be supportive in our leaps and our falls. So that would be a start. And then I really, the next thing that comes to my mind is when I'm, graduated from college and looking at starting a career. And it's my husband. I met with him right as I started teaching. We reconnected, and he has been an absolute steadfast support in anything that I would want to do. And the reason I bring this up is he's even a support for things that I don't think I can do. He has planted seeds for me. So when I started real estate, I was not thinking about being a part of the leadership role and helping agents. And he has always been very, very supportive and steadfast in saying, yes, you are a wonderful person to do this. You can do this. So he would be another one. And then I'd say a good friend that I have is Kelly Carter. And I've watched her as a businesswoman all through the years. And she also went to high school with Bill. So good connection there from Clinton again. Then as she was continuing to do her insurance business and needed somebody to watch her son, she turned to me because I was at home watching Grant. So I was able to watch her grow as I was doing the staying at home and taking care of the kiddos for a little bit. And she just is a lot like Bill with the common principles of taking care of people, going to the, nth degree, the last mile, and making sure that relationships and people come first. So she's another person I would say is a wonderful influence on watching her and how she took her business and never looked back. She just kept going and taking care of people and built a great business.
You've said that a couple of different times, that one of the things is about taking care of people. So what other traits do you see when you think about those that are good leaders and those who maybe you've come in contact with that you didn't feel were as good of leaders? What are the traits the good leaders had that you perhaps even aspire to copy or, do the same thing? What are those traits that you feel are important for the really good leader?
I believe that to be a really good leader, you need to be able to be confident in what you're doing and sharing that with others. The world is a incredible place, and if we just had a few good leaders, that wouldn't help us. We need a lot of good leaders, and we need those good leaders to be empowering of other people to become their best self. So for me, sharing my knowledge, encouraging people to take on their problems as they want to, but always being there as the safety net, should they falter or look for guidance, but helping them to see that they can do their own problem solving and they can strive to take on their role in whatever they do and be the best that they can be. So leaders should empower others.
Okay. So taking care of people and empowering others are obviously two big themes that I've heard from you as you've gone through this. So how have you, through your journey of being a classroom teacher to an agent who, even just a real estate agent, and I don't say that as to minimize what that is, you're clearly in a leadership role at that point because you know the journey that the home buyer or the home seller wants to go through, and you're helping them along that journey. You're in a leadership role, and now you're taking on what would be a true leadership role because you've got agents that are working with you and are part of the agency. How have you helped people and empowered the folks to go through their journey as well?
Are you asking about my clients or my fellow real estate agents?
Yeah, that's a good question because really it falls into both of them. From the basis of the question, I'm seeing you as the leader of both the clients as well as the team that you have. There are a lot of similarities and there may be some differences. So let's start with, what are you doing to take care of the people and how are you empowering them on both sides of it? And then we'll talk about maybe some of the challenges too.
Well, with regards to clients, I think systems are extremely important. I have had clients come to me that have bought and sold before, some of them multiple times, some of them once or twice, and then I also have clients that haven't had a real estate transaction, which would be new home buyers, or maybe somebody bought a home but they hadn't sold a home, listed it and sold it so they can move on to their second home. So the different types of clients that come, as I have my systems in place, help give them the vision of what this journey looks like, whether it's the listing side, helping my sellers, or the buyer side and helping them purchase. I set things up so that they can understand the steps that we're going to go through. It is very important to help them get information so that they can make good decisions. I'll go to the listing side right now. I need to be able to give them a market analysis that is current data so that I can help them understand the best price for their home and make sure that they feel comfortable with that. On the buyer side, as we go to purchase a property, they can fall in love with a home, but then I need to do my homework and give them information to make sure that the home that they fell in love with and the price point that is showing on the multiple listing service is a price point that makes sense for that neighborhood in that area, so they can make a good sound purchase. So those are things that I feel having systems in place, knowing how this process goes from beginning through all the steps in the middle to the successful ending to where everybody wants to get, that I have my clients see that and understand that up front, and then keep preparing them as we go through it for each step so we can get to that successful closing. So that's what I would say about the clients.
Okay. All right. How about your team? How are you sharing your knowledge with them and empowering them?
With the team, we do 2 meetings a month. We make sure that we are looking over everything that we're doing, discussing, helping if, at this point where I have my wonderful listing that I'm still looking for the right buyer, that we talk about things that are going on with the market, things that we're doing to market the listing, share information with each other, and really just as a team give support for anything that we are doing real estate wise. We also like to connect with things that are happening with real estate. We're watchful of all the new things that come out, across the United States. Be able to look at market trends, things that are happening. And what I find, we are very, very fortunate to be here in the Midwest, where things are just a little more mild and things don't drop off the cliff like they do sometimes on some of the coasts. But it is good to be able to keep track of what is happening, across the nation with real estate and just the changes. This last year we had a change with commissions and structures, and so as a team we want to make sure we stay abreast of all of that and have the knowledge to help keep us moving our clients in the right direction.
Okay. So that's helping them stay up with the knowledge and sharing the knowledge that you've got. So what are the challenges that either they have brought to you or that you have faced as you've taken on more of the responsibilities and more of the leadership directive for the agency?
What I think has been one of the most recent biggest challenges is what happened last 3 or so years ago, where we just did not have enough listings for the buyers. And so, yes, it was wonderful. If you helped a seller list their home, you'd pretty much put on the market, hit the button, and you had offers that same day, and there were multiple offers, and they were crazy price amounts that the buyers were offering, and the terms. It was unreal what was happening. So with the sellers having that moment in time where they were in the driver's seat and the buyers were clamoring to even get a home, and sometimes buyers would have to write multiple offers before they could even go under contract because they kept losing out, as they wrote their offers. So those are things that have happened recently, just in the last few years. And as real estate agents, whether you are on the listing side, on the buying side, or helping both, trying to navigate tough challenges like that to help your clients, especially when you're a buyer's agent, trying to help your client be the one that was the chosen offer. That comes with experience, but also comes with just staying abreast of everything that's happening, focusing in on what is important now. If you're in a multiple offer situation, how do you face this challenge and come out on top? So that's definitely something that I feel like as a team that we worked through together, and I feel really good about helping many clients through those times, because it wasn't easy.
Yeah, those were kind of unprecedented things, and they were certainly market driven. Have you had challenges with any of the staff as far as with trying to help them through some of their struggles that as they are developing in their career as well? And not necessarily as a result of the market, but as they are growing into their role of being a successful agent.
I think to answer that, it probably comes back to our systems. When you are an agent helping somebody through a transaction, there's creativity that is involved with negotiations, writing offers, but there's always a system that needs to be in place. And so agents can have pitfalls, things that happen because maybe a step was missed or they didn't think about something coming up pipeline. So those are things that I think are very important in helping an agent navigate through a whole real estate transaction from start to finish, and have steps in place, the things they need to watch for, to be on top of, be ahead of, and that's what I would say as far as leading a team and helping with the challenges, especially agents that are newer or not as experienced.
Mm-hmm. So systems are important. That helps establish what the process is, and there's really kind of two definitions for that. So I'm going to let you kind of clarify for me. The one is the system that is like the computer system. It's the program that's going to help us stay on the path, so to speak, and the other is the process. And we follow step one, and it takes us to step two, into step three, and leads us eventually to whatever the end result is. Talk to us about how you keep those newer agents on utilizing the systems and the system.
If you don't put a system in place when you're doing real estate, then things can slip through the cracks. And that is the last thing that you want to happen when you are helping a client through a big transaction like this. So it might be silly to say, but you either do it or you don't. You're in big trouble if you don't. You can never be a real estate agent and let things slip through the cracks. It just doesn't work. So I would say with the systems, when you start off, it actually can be written down. Here are the steps that you are taking. And I don't have the graphic with me, but it's been fun to see when some people think, oh, the real estate agent makes so much money. What do they do for it? They don't do anything. They're just showing a home and selling it. The number of tasks that we need to do on both sides of the equation, daily, weekly, monthly, to help our clients through is an incredible amount. And so, yes, having them written down for a newer agent, whether they need to actually check them off or just be able to see that and follow it, that's really important. And then someone that is more experienced like me, I don't need to check off those lists. I'm just automatically doing them every time I start. I go to list a home or I start working with a buyer. So again, I know all agents, we are independent contractors and can have different systems, different ways of attacking things. But if we compared them, it would really boil down to some of the very same steps. And then we just have those embellished to, how we go about to do things. But there's a good way to attack each side of it. And you do need to know how you're going to get from point A to point B and not let anything slip through the cracks.
So that's interesting that you said it in that manner. We're all independent contractors, which leads to the fact that you can't always tell somebody that this is our way and you will do it our way because they're independent contractors. How do you motivate them to do it the right way as opposed to their way when they maybe don't have the experience to see why the right way is the best way to do it as opposed to, well, I've got a shortcut. I want to do it my way.
I would say as we start our process with training, we do train our agents, and your ulterior or outcome of not doing it the way that we talk about can be something falling apart. Contract is there, you think you're moving to closing, and then you have no contract. So we talk about scenarios. We do talk about reasoning of, the steps. Why do you do this? What's going to happen if you don't do this? And through discussions like that, agents do understand why it's important to go ahead and follow those steps. Because if you skip an important step of taking someone through inspections and not following that contract with the amount of days that inspection period is, then you could have a whole heck of a lot of problems on your hands. And those are things that we don't want. So you follow them or not, you're in trouble.
All right. So as you have grown in your career and you've watched your dad and your parents both through their careers and their leadership journeys, you've talked many times about Bill and his influence on you. What would you say your leadership style is today as a result of those influences and that development that you've gone through?
Very in-depth question.
I got lucky.
Leadership style for me, and I feel through this conversation, the theme obviously is relationship. I haven't learned anything outside of the main building block that relationships are the basis of life and living. And that came from my parents. Met my husband who believes that. Well, I'll have to throw in, obviously, with It's a Wonderful Life. It is just another pointer to the fact that it's just such an important part of life of treating people good and having good relationships and not expecting to get something back. You're doing it to do good by someone else. So those are, or not those, I was going to say those people. That is something that came to me from my parents. My husband has always been in my heart too. And I think that is something that has definitely driven my leadership role. It's just having that inside me is a very important factor.
Okay. So the relationship, and we've talked about that a couple of times now, building that relationship and the importance of it. What are the things that you purposefully do in an effort to build the relationship? Because a lot of times we do things and we don't even know why we do them, but to help other people figure out how they can have a better relationship or build better relationships, we have to be able to explain to them, here's what I've done, this is why I did it, and this is how you can do it as well. What are those elements that you know that you have to do, or the steps you have to take in order to build those good relationships?
I think just as you said, helping people understand you, but it's very much you understanding the other person. So asking questions, finding out about the other person, learning about how they learn. And of course, this comes back to teaching and things like that. Every individual is different. They're unique. As I've learned in your classes, we can have some big categories and know where many of us fall. But just, in my opinion, understanding that person and a little bit better about how they think or how they want to communicate. I'll jump sideways on that and say that's a very important thing in this day and time, is understanding communication and how individuals do want to communicate. And I need to understand that right from the start when I'm working with clients. So those are things that are very important. And now that I took my sidestep, I think I got myself off on your initial question because I had one more point.
Well, we were just the purposeful steps that you take in order to build the relationships.
Thank you. So learning about the person, understanding the person, and then I think doing things that are meaningful for that personality. If I am helping someone that is an engineer, that my brain is more artful and detailed in a different way than an engineer. So I may need to present my information differently to help that client. So that's what I would say.
Okay. So you actually followed up. You answered one of my follow-up questions before I even asked it, because what it sounded like you were saying as far as how people want to be, how they want to communicate. Initially, I thought you were going down the path, do they want a phone call? Do they want text? Do they prefer email?
I was saying that at first, yes.
Okay. So that is one side of that. But then the other side is, how do they want to hear messaging, and how do they receive, or what are they looking for in the message? And your example being an engineer who stereotypically is very detailed, likes data, wants to be able to analyze the information, and is very logical and procedural about making decisions. And that being in contrast to your personality, who is more creative and
talkative.
More talkative, and typically, and this is not specific to you, but that creative type of personality usually doesn't look at the details or is not necessarily influenced by details, and they don't really want the data. They're making a decision more based on how does it feel and how does it come across. And obviously what we're talking about is the disc, personality qualities and everything. So we're throwing that out there. So I appreciate that you're utilizing those tools for us out there and actually incorporating them into it. Now, that leadership style has evolved for you. So how do you see that continuing to grow? What are one of the areas that when Hillory looks at the mirror in the morning and she has that conversation with that lady in the mirror, what is it that she says she wants to work on that day, or what is she working on to improve her growth trajectory?
I would say the first thing that comes to my mind is encouragement to myself of doing different things. I really, like I said, I'm a worker bee. I'm a homing pigeon. Which is not unlike a lot of people, but I like to know what I'm doing, make sure I do it right, have all my information gathered. So for leadership growth, it would be just continuing to encourage that person in the mirror to step out and do something different, which if you talk to me in the spring, I did come up with an idea, and I've planted the seeds and I'm starting it, and it's taken me way out of my comfort zone. So now that I told that to you, I thought I am doing that.
Good. Want to tell us more?
I guess I can. I have a long way to go, but I am going to do a downtown hoedown.
Downtown hoedown?
And it is going to benefit Prodeo. So I'm looking at doing this in May, and I hope to have a lot of specifics set here before the end of the year so that we can really roll on it as we come out in the new year. But yes, I think it would be very fun to do an event where people could do line dancing or just watch, have a band, and just enjoy some time in our downtown benefiting Prodeo. So I've got all kinds of little ideas. And if I could find some way to get Taylor Swift to be on the big screen and do one of her dances, it would be great, but I haven't figured that out yet.
Well, let's put it out there. Put it into the universe and see what comes back. Excellent. So, all right. So you're talking about getting outside of your comfort zone. And that's obviously when we're in that comfort zone, we're not growing, we're not changing, we're not learning or developing ourselves, and putting yourself outside of that comfort zone is the thing that you're working on to continue your development. All right. Perfect.
Because it always feels nice and warm and comfortable to stay where you're at and what you know that you're doing. Yeah. And that you do it well. Yeah. But you got to branch out.
So let's ask this, and this would, I expect this is going to sound very familiar to you because I typically ask this kind of a question toward the end of one of my sessions. What would you say is a lesson that you have learned that has helped to bring you to this point to recognize that Hillory wants to be uncomfortable on purpose because she knows that it's helping her to grow?
To answer that, I would say I think back through my husband and I when the kids were young, and there were a lot of things that they did that I wish I could have done and didn't do when I was younger. Obviously, we really have enjoyed sports. I grew up with my dad being a football coach. I married someone that loves all kinds of sports. We both talked about before we had kids, we weren't going to push them to do anything. But as soon as our daughter was born, I had a football in her hand. We didn't make her do anything, but she does throw a great spiral. So we were going to let them lead the way, but it was just natural for them to enjoy sports. Bill was throwing balls with them from the, moment they were out of my tummy practically, and could even focus on the ball. So I watched my young children do things that I didn't do when I was younger. I feel like I was somewhat of an athlete. I did track. I took cheerleading seriously, and as a cheerleading coach, wanted to make sure that the cheerleaders knew we weren't just out there to wear skirts. We were there for a reason. We were there to support the team, try to get the crowd supporting the team, had to understand the sport that we were cheering for. So I knew wrestling, I knew football, I knew basketball, all those things. And so those are things I did. But to watch my children do different sports and get to learn from watching them and my husband working with them, that did take me out of my comfort zone, because I really wasn't someone that wanted to get out there on the diamond and hit a ball. But you need to, if you're going to be there for your kids and if that's what they want to do. Or it could just be into anything. If they went into the theater as a parent, putting yourself out there to role play with them and, put on a little play. So I just feel that going through life, you can have different stages, but you need to find ways in whatever stage you're in to do something that doesn't make you comfortable. And I had many, many times of not feeling comfortable when I was trying to play sports with my kids.
Okay.
But it was worth it, though.
So stay uncomfortable, or just simply become comfortable being uncomfortable and continue the growth process.
And I'm still not. I talk about this. We're on a podcast. It's really great in theory.
And it hasn't been so bad, has it?
Nope. It's been nice to visit with you. But I still just smile, because there are things that I don't know, if we walked around as human beings and let people know what we really didn't want to do, I think it'd be really interesting, but also scary. Most of us walk around sometimes thinking, oh, I don't want to do this, but we do. And it's important part of life. So I do. I think that being uncomfortable is a good way to grow your skills, because they don't grow when you're not uncomfortable.
Okay. If there were one thing that you could go back and tell Hillory, that young teacher coming out of college, and could make sure that it helped her throughout, that you would have known that sooner rather than learning it later, what would that one thing be?
I think it would be, don't think too small. It feels good to set a goal or think you can do something that you can accomplish. And so I really would like to go back to a younger Hillory to say, don't think too small, think big. And it's cliche, but if you think big and you don't make it that far, you landed somewhere higher than where you thought you could be. So that's what I would say.
Okay, excellent. Last thought. I will throw it out there. What would you say to someone who is looking to develop as a leader like you have, and what would you share with them to help motivate them to take that step of being uncomfortable and not thinking too small?
First and foremost, they need to find their passion. Everything makes a lot more sense when you feel it in here and you're passionate about it. And after finding your passion, then just decide your why. Why do you want to do this and be the leader to help others? If you have those two answers, it is really helpful.
Okay. Find your passion and know your why. All right. Hillory, thank you so much for being here with us today. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm glad I got to see the studio and be a part of this. I'm excited excited to see what comes out of it. And I am laughing because now my heart has come down a little bit.